So welcome to day 8 of the Red Letter Revolution. And today we're going to read the parables of the hidden treasure and the pearl of great price. And it's a short one. And then we're going to say a little things, and then we're going to move into day 9. So starting with Matthew chapter 13, 44 to 50. Again, the kingdom of heaven is like a treasure hidden in a field, which a man found and hid. And for joy over it, he goes and sells all that he has and buys that field. Again, the kingdom of heaven is like a merchant seeking beautiful pearls, who, when he had found one pearl of great price, went and sold all that he had and bought it. Again, the kingdom of heaven is like a dragnet that was cast into the sea and gathered some of every kind, which when it was full, they drew to shore, and they sat down and gathered the good into vessels, but threw the bad away. Talking about fish. So it will be at the end of the age. The angels will come forth, separate the wicked from among the just, and cast them into the furnace of fire. There will be wailing and gnashing of teeth. Ooh, gangster. So, sticking with the treasure piece, one of the things I think is that what Christ is trying to teach us, what these wisdom teachers are trying to teach us, is the value of the great treasure of consciousness that we all have access to. And that once we have that, we realize that a lot of things that we place value on are temporary, they're not going to last, and ultimately they don't have the worth that we think they do. One of the ways of understanding that is thinking about how we project value onto certain things. Like I used to sell cars, and when I was selling cars, there was a Toyota Avalon. I used to sell Toyotas. And when a person ever came in and they told me, I would like to have a Lexus, but I might sell them on a Toyota Avalon because, one, Toyota Avalon is basically a luxury Toyota, very comparable to a Lexus, because Toyota makes Lexus. A lot of people don't know that. And so when you're looking at a top of the line, everything loaded Avalon, which is probably about 15, 20, 30,000 cheaper than a base Lexus, at least back then, you really were buying the name, because you could get everything inside of an Avalon and pay way less for it because of the name. And so what makes it worth more is your own inner thoughts, your own projection that you put onto this vehicle and decide that this one is worth more than this other one, because projection that comes from within oneself. So what if you projected high value on who you were? What if you projected a value on yourself, or the wisdom or the teachings that Christ came to bring about who we truly are, the children of God that we actually are? Because a lot of times we place values on people in our society, actors and famous people, politicians, whatever, doctors. We project value onto certain people and think that other people have a lesser value. And a lot of times we have a negative inward projection / reflection on who we are, and we see ourselves of less value. And Christ is trying to show us like who we truly are and what we really is worth valuing. So hopefully that makes sense. And once we are aware of that, then everything else doesn't matter. Paul later says in one of his letters that he counts everything as loss compared to the knowledge of the love of God. So he doesn't care what he has of the world. What this knowledge is worth way more. And this is basically what Christ is talking about. That's the pearl of great price. That's the hidden treasure. Our mind is the field that a field of consciousness, that once we become aware, a lot of the things that we make valuable, that we make worth it, become of lesser worth. And so it's just amazing to be able to access that awareness, to access that treasure of our own consciousness and our own being. And so that's what he's inviting us into. And then he talks about the dragnet and the picking of the fish and things, and then finding things that are worth it, getting rid of the things that aren't, keeping the things that are. It's the same thing with our thoughts, or just like with the weeds and the wheat. We're like, in our consciousness, these things come up that are of value and things that are of not value. And when we learn how to discern, we can keep the things of value and we can toss the things that are not of value. A lot of times people project on this and they think that it's talking about people and that some of us are going to be cast out into the fire and burned up and all this other stuff. And that's what we're concerned about. But it's really, a lot of this is happening in the realm of our consciousness, the realm of our mind, the realm of our hearts. And then, yeah, there are physical manifestations in the temporal world that sometimes we experience. Like if you ever get mad or you feel terrible, you go through, there is literally wailing and gnashing of teeth, not just in this idea of burning up somewhere and screaming and going out like that. But sometimes our very thoughts make us like, ah. There's like, oh, that's wailing, that's gnashing of teeth. All of that is part of the human experience. Have you ever wailed when you got like PO'd at somebody? Have you ever gnashed your teeth because you were so frustrated because of engaging in kind of like frustrating conversations with people or whatever the case may be? All of these things that he talks about are part and parcel of just being a person. And there are also likewise ways of understanding the things that make for joy, that make us so find a value in it that's so great that we don't care about anything else because we just want to feel this value. There's a story I heard one time about a person was looking for this treasure. I wish I knew the story better, but ultimately it's like this guy had this diamond in his pocket and he was spending all his time trying to find this treasure and didn't realize that this stone he had in his pocket the whole time was a diamond. And so he was suffering and struggling and going through all this junk when he had a diamond in his pocket the whole time. And I think that that's what happens with us a lot, that we have this treasure in our hearts, in our minds, in our consciousness, and we don't know it. And we're looking all over the place trying to find a treasure, looking. And the treasure is right here with us right now. So if I haven't beat that drum enough, let me beat it one more time. We have the treasure within us. And once we become mindful of that treasure that is within us, it's kind of late. I'm making this video like almost midnight. Once we find that treasure within us, everything else comes into its proper perspective. And so this is the invitation to bring these things into proper perspective so that we can have a life of value and of worth that we project onto, and we're conscious that we're doing it, and that we only allow ourselves to be valued, to see ourselves in the way that Christ sees us, and to see the value that Christ would put, that he would put his life on the line to teach us these things, because he knew the value of what he was bringing and wanted us to know that value as well. So that's all I'm gonna say for today. Looking forward to tomorrow, and have a blessed one. Thanks.